Mark, hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm in the quiet little town of Stanford in the Western Cape. I had reasons to come here, and it's a very peaceful place, far away
Okay.
from the madding crowd. And when it comes to traffic in Stanford, you just read about it. It doesn't exist, so it's too fabulous. And I had a quiet weekend here. How are you, man? What's happening in the world? Because I'm here. I'm not in the world.
You're not in the world. Okay. A
Yeah.
lot is happening.
Well,
We had you did watch the cricket.
I did watch the ladies' cricket, the women's cricket, okay, where
Right,
our captain, Wolfhard, had centuries both in the semi-final and final, but that wasn't enough to rescue us. And the
right,
Indians beat us by 52 runs. It was a good game. And I'll tell
right.
you what, women's cricket has arrived on the world stage, my friend. That
Okay.
stadium was chock-a-block. It
Oh,
was
great.
full. It was worth watching. It was exciting. Welcome
Okay.
to the ladies' cricket world.
Yes,
It's real.
the people that
Yeah,
you
and well
continue
done
to
out
call
to you.
ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know what you're supposed to do anymore. Women's team, whatever. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. The trouble with all of the sport nowadays, it's money driven. And
Right.
it gets me onto one of my favorite nags, which is gaming and gambling and the pervasiveness and the gambling, as I've said before, is a disease of the poor. I
Right.
read a headline somewhere along the lines of that more people pray because of gambling than because of what they hear in church. So they're praying for that money to arrive. It's a much game, but it seems to be pervasive, particularly in sport. And you
Right.
almost go, is there a contradiction there? Is there an issue there that people are betting on outcomes? And does that impact on the game, let alone the people losing money betting? What's your view on gambling generally, Tim?
I Earlier this week, a bunch of CEOs said that they should ban online gambling advertising, like they
Yeah,
did with cigarettes.
yeah,
And
right.
and I wrote that this was a terrible idea. I quite like gambling. I'm very unusual in
Yeah,
that sense because,
yeah. We've
and
we've
I think
we've
people are
talked about it
sensible to
before.
gamble on. Yeah, I think people are sensible to
Yeah,
gamble on sport because gambling on sport is very difficult for the house to maneuver. If you're gambling
yeah,
on in a casino, the casino knows the odds very clearly and it knows how to stack the deck in its favor. But how do
yeah,
you
yeah.
stack the deck in your favor in sport? It's
Okay, so
trickier
I
for the.
I agree with I agree with the broad statement that you can't ban gambling. My main reason for not wanting to ban it is it'll go underground and then it'll get even worse. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
because it's a force that exists. A, B. Your point on sport, yes, it is more, if you like, independent from house manipulation. But what happens if sports people get vested interest in the outcome? Okay. And what
Okay.
happens? It's quite easy to miss a ball in cricket that you know is going to hit the wicket if it's worth $100,000 to you. Okay. And so you wonder, and goodness, God forbid that I should be right on this, but or even go down this track. Yeah, I think it's
Right.
got a place. I think it's got a little bit carried away, and it is something which I think can ruin people below the poverty line rather than help
Yeah,
them.
no, it is
The
true. I
odds
mean,
aren't there, guys. Yeah.
yeah, the interesting thing is that the National Gambling Association announced how much was bet this past year. They keep a track on this,
And
and it's gone up to about 1.5 trillion rand, which everyone was like,
that's a lot.
oh my god, that's an extraordinary amount of money. But it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It isn't. Okay. Yeah,
No.
you tell me, Tim, because you come from the Karoo, where people are
Yes, yes.
swimming in free cash flow. I know the farmers there and all that.
No, no. The
Yeah,
point is,
so if that's not a lot of money, what the hell is? Yeah,
no. When you bet on a sports tournament and you win, you bet again.
yeah,
And then you bet again.
yeah,
In some ways, the increase. This is a sort of 40%, 50% increase on last year. I mean, it really is
yeah.
taking over the country, right? But in a sense, the increase in the amount bet reflects how successful gamblers are. How about that?
Oh, I'm not sure about that hypothesis, my man. I'm not sure about that hypothesis. I would argue a case for the contrary. Okay. I would
Okay.
argue that when you lose, you bet again. Okay. And so, in fact, I wouldn't argue only for that. I would say that's not the driving force. But if there were one that I would back, it's lose, double up, man. Let's bet again.
Right.
Double or quits. Double or
Right.
quits. Anyway, I think it's something that we have to watch, and people, at the very least, should have the same warning that was attached to cigarette advertising, which is that gambling can be bad for your bank balance or something, if not your health.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And at least
Oh no, I would
we
go for
should
that.
enlighten people. We should enlighten
Yes,
people, and we should watch the advertising that is sometimes borderline misleading about what the odds are, what your chances are of winning, because the house wins. Okay, the house wins. That's always true.
but you know, I'm
Otherwise, there
offended
wouldn't
by
be
that too.
places. Oh,
I think
good.
that is wrong. Yeah, because so the tagline of a lot of online gambling is everybody's a winner, right? So
Yeah.
obviously that's wrong. No, no,
Yes.
everybody is not a winner.
Yeah. If everyone
That
was a
is how
winner, there'd
betting.
be no.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how is that different from suggesting that if you use a certain deodorant, women are going to fall
Mm,
over themselves for you? You know what I mean? Advertising is not accurate. It's not meant to be accurate. People know it's
yeah.
not accurate.
Yeah.
What worries me about this is that
I
people are
think often the advertising, it's the opposite. So taking your non-PC deodorant example, I would go like,
right.
maybe using the right deodorant won't attract anyone, but the absence of it might
Yeah.
detract them. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, your point's valued. Advertising is about dreams and possibilities. As
Yes.
long as it's not misleading, and like we had with the Lotto ad the other day, which I tweeted on about, which is they talked about more chances to win, which was correct in language terms, but the probabilities of winning had gone down, not up. Okay, there were more
I do
numbers
think.
to bet on,
Yes, yes, here we are. But the problem is I
the
do
lower
think that
chance.
generally speaking, that gambling is a tax on people who are bad at maths, and I think that's a good tax.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, but
I mean,
I think we've
I mean,
given
if
it
there's an
enough time.
incentive.
I think we've given.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's
Yeah,
move on to
yeah. I
that
think
other
we've,
form of gambling, and that is the
which
global
is.
stock markets. The global stock
Oh
markets.
yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm not clever enough, and I've got my trick
Right.
to try and second guess the next big stock or when this particular thing is going to turn. At best, I would say I can give you some asset allocation advice depending on how rich or old or young or poor you are. That's about where my expertise would start
Well,
being
can I ask you a question?
running out. Yeah.
So it's a question I know the answer to. Just be warned.
Go ahead,
What
make a
is
fool of me, Tim. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
what is larger, the market cap of Nvidia or the market cap of every single pharmaceutical company in the world?
NVIDIA.
Okay, you're right. Well done. That's
Well, just a leading question, Tim.
yes, yes,
Anyone
yes.
who guessed the bar, yeah, you gave us the answer there. You'd be no good in Jeopardy. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you said, what's bigger than all the pharmacy, let's say, who is or what is NVIDIA? Yeah, anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
right, right,
And
right. No, I'm just making the point that the entire health industry is being judged
mm,
by the market as less valuable than the possibility of artificial intelligence. That is
you've got to
the
finish
market.
that with that sentence. You've got to finish that sentence with at this point in time.
Okay,
Because
okay,
when you observe the fact that you've just given us to ponder, you have to
right,
go, am I a buyer or seller of that fact? And if you
right.
said to me that in the last year, NVIDIA's gone up by and pharmaceutical, I would buy the possibility of that trend reversing rather than continuing. Now,
Okay,
at a point in time, I'd go, they've overestimated the future of NVIDIA and they're underestimating the long-term value of pharmaceuticals. That's the challenge.
exactly.
Which way
Well,
bet?
yes, yeah. No, generally speaking, I do think it is an extraordinary kind of moment. It's always an extraordinary moment.
No,
But for the world to be in transparently such a horrible state, and for the
no.
stock markets around the world, everywhere, just in South Africa, everywhere, for stock markets to be at an absolute record is a really bizarre situation. It's my
Well,
question is this: why is that?
the answer is in the facts, and I don't know the facts, but the facts might be one of many facts. For example, it might
Right.
be that because of this uncertainty, people are sitting in piles and piles of cash. and they're
Right.
not going into private investments. That is to say, they're not. I think private equity is taking a knock. I think raising capital for long-term private equity is at a low ebb right now, from what I read. Okay. I
Right.
think property stocks, property, actual real assets, people are hesitating on, but they can't have it all in cash. And so there's a
Right.
lot of cash swimming around the system. And you chuck some of it at the index just as a protection rather than an enthusiasm. But I
Right.
agree with you. The trouble is, it's intoxicating and it does have a hangover. Okay. It
Right.
always bursts. And so,
Yes.
the question
Well,
is, do you have enough faith in your existing portfolio to hold it through the crash? That's
right.
the test of the wisdom of your investment strategy.
What do you think? What do you think you should be prepared for? What do you think you should be prepared to swallow as a decline in the value of your portfolio?
20%.
20%. Okay.
That's a lot.
Um,
A
but
lot.
can I
That's
ask you?
5 years of
Yeah, yeah,
returns.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Can I
Mm.
suggest a possible answer to my own question?
Oh,
The
yeah. It couldn't be the first or the last time you do that, Tim. Yeah, have a go. Yeah.
well, I think there's two things that work here, and that is global prosperity and productivity. I think productivity around the world
No,
has just
no.
increased to such an
Productivity.
extent that it's
Huge.
outweighing all of the negative sentiment that you can possibly throw at the market is not being
Mm.
outweighed by
That's
the
interesting. Yeah.
extraordinary gains in productivity and in global prosperity. So this is an interesting thing that Africa is now the only continent where there's poverty. It's just extraordinary.
Wow.
The
Wow.
and which is the bad news. The good news is that of the 15 highest growing countries this year, 8 of them will be African. That's not going
I'm
to
not,
last forever.
that doesn't
That's
surprise me
extraordinary.
because, yeah,
No,
but we offer low
no.
base here. I mean, your
Yes,
point of
exactly.
productivity is worth focusing on. Basically, we're saying that the unit cost of production is diminishing marginally all the time. A and
Right.
B, what are the consequences of that? If you look at what's happening in the US corporate market, the layoffs are on the rise. People are getting laid off by the dozen, by the thousand.
Yes. Yes.
And they're being replaced, if you like, by AI and machines and things of that nature that can build and even do intricate operations on the human body.
Yes.
So whether all of that is good or bad, but I think it is an explanation. Yeah, if it's an extraordinary and obvious thing that when your cost of production gets swamped by the price you can sell for the final product as a result of economies of scale, you start
Yes.
making money hand over fist. And that's maybe what people are buying.
Yeah, the criticism, the most often cited criticism is that the growth in market values is very skewed towards the top,
Yeah.
much more than it ever has in the past. If you look at the South Africa industrial stocks, they are not the ones that are responsible for the market record. They are pulling the market record down. The South African stock market
Well,
is doing well because of the gold
we're going to
industry and
have to.
almost nothing else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to have to re-examine our definition of what we've comfortably always known as the real economy versus the this economy versus that,
Yes, exactly.
because what used to be the pie in the sky economy is now the real economy, if you will. And so it's a matter of allocations. Ultimately, if you look at the bad news, though, if you look at some of the missing cash, for example, eventually comes home to roost. I read, and I don't know any of these things are true anymore, that Joburg Water has lost 4 billion. The SA Statistics has run out of cash. And that's always been the final test, hasn't it? The final test has always been,
Yes,
can you pay your bills? And I think
right.
some of those chickens are coming home to roost. Talking about chickens,
Yeah.
I believe we've got the biggest foot and mouth challenge coming our way in South Africa. All of these things have a way of being pretty horrible when they manifest. So
Yeah.
it's a difficult word to invest out there, and you've got to resort to the basics, Tim. You've got to go, don't try and catch the next flying star because you might
Yes.
just be a month too late, and then you're just going to be the only one on your own with a hangover. Don't start drinking when everyone else is drunk. Okay, just don't.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Just on the subject of the chickens coming home to roost in government and so on, what do you make of this the meeting of the GNU this weekend? We haven't
I'm
reports about what
completely
happened there.
foxed about that. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what it's. There's so much speculation that our president was calling people in to tell him that he's going to resign and this, that, and the next thing. But none of that is in any way known. They seem to be an awfully friendly bunch when they gather for the photo shot. Okay. This
Yes, yes.
GNU of ours. It's a pity they're not a team because they take
Right.
team photographs like there's no tomorrow, but they can't score a bloody goal between them. Okay,
Yes.
it's I refer to it as the government of no upside. Okay, the
Right.
GNU. Okay.
Right.
Because it's the lowest common denominator decision making body, not the highest common factor. So I don't know why they were gathering. I thought they don't like each other. Okay. But they're going away for the weekend together. And
Right.
I don't know, Tim. I've got no idea why, man. I'm not a supporter of this mixed up thing.
Did you attach any significance that they had their team meeting at the cradle of humankind? Are we going back to
No,
the
Tim, I don't.
drawing board?
Because yeah, okay. The cradle of humankind is one set of words, but when you describe its geography as in Krugersdorp, there's another set of words. Okay. I mean, okay. I don't know if you
Careful
add
here,
together
careful, Mark.
cradle of yeah, etc. and so on. But
Right.
imagine taking a picture of your team and there
Yes.
are 5 different jerseys in the
Right.
photograph. Okay. There's this team, the green team, the yellow team, the red team, the blue team. And you're like, okay, I don't know why they gather, other than
Right.
to console one another as to the ineptness of their output. So I'm not pleased. And by the
Um,
way, there was probably another meeting happening at the same time, which was the gathering of deputy ministers, a sort of a
right.
farewell party, if you like,
Right.
because it's become clear that deputy ministers ain't really got jobs. That's what the Maganda Commission is saying. Eh? Not longer.
Yes. No, exactly. There's 2 deputy ministers of police, and
Oh,
neither of
yeah.
them have been allocated any job.
Yeah.
It's weird. I
Look,
mean, I can understand not allocating one person a job, but not allocating
yeah.
2 people a job.
First of all, I've never liked being the deputy, but that's my own stuff
Right.
I've got to deal with. Okay. But
Right.
then if you are the deputy, if you don't have some sort of portfolio, some sort of space that's yours, then you really are superfluous to the system. And
Yes.
I think they're turning out to be handouts, sort of gifts of
Oh,
recognition, sort
okay.
of merit
You
certificates. When you
think?
at the school,
Yes.
when you're at the like school prize giving, and gets the first prize for maths and to get the first prize for school rugby, and
Right.
then there's a whole bunch of people who didn't quite get anything, and they get given merit certificates. Okay,
Right.
and the last thing you want to ever achieve in your life is a merit certificate amongst the many. Okay,
Yeah, no,
and
no, it's sort of like
that's what it
it's
is.
it's it's like a participation award. You're getting
Yeah,
awarded for taking part.
yeah,
You might not have achieved anything, but you were part of the.
yeah.
Just to be serious for a moment about the GNU,
Yeah,
this is a significant meeting because
it is. Yeah,
it
I've no
takes
doubt.
place before the G20.
G20.
So obviously they're trying to get their message, or
Yeah,
try to get agreement with
that's
everybody.
why they. Oh,
That's
you've got it, Tim. You've got it in
right.
one. That's exactly why they're meeting. They're going, guys. Can we just
Yes.
put all the like fights and stuff on hold? Because what we want to do
Yes, yes.
is agree what flowers to plant on the G20 route in Johannesburg. Okay, so can we like
Right.
just put everything aside and just
Yes.
put on a good show because the parents-in-law are coming for
Right.
dinner. Okay. So let's not fight at the dinner table. You've got it in one. That's exactly why
Okay.
they met, Tim.
I'm glad
Okay.
I was helpful in that respect.
You nailed it.
Uh,
You nailed it. But you know what I'm also starting to think about again on a more serious note is what impact all these tariff wars and other wars and these stances, quite brave or stupid stances that have been taken by leaders, what effect that's having on the allocation of resources and the how you feel about your oil supply or your oil production or your base mineral supply or your base production as these new trade partner alliances start having to emerge that
right.
previously didn't naturally emerge in the
Right.
face of world economic powers. What do you think of
Right.
that little insert, Tim? Is it going to get a merit certificate, for goodness sake? Yeah.
No, I was astounded. Last week was the big meeting between Xi and President Trump. And they seem to have come to an agreement of sorts. People have described it as they've both holstered their weapons, except that they haven't. American tariffs on Chinese goods are still 25%. This is higher than it was in the Great Depression. I think this is so much of this is performative. This is what we're beginning to understand about all of this, because even though it hasn't stopped the American trade deficit. So how is
No.
that humanly possible? And the only
Well,
way it's
first of
humanly
all, I don't
possible
know
is
if
that
it's
they're routing stuff through alternative ports. So
yeah.
Chinese stuff is going through Taiwan or somewhere else. There's always a way to get around these things. It's just an
Well,
exercise in strutting, as far as
well,
I can see.
that's back to our point about legislating gambling. You can't
Yeah.
legislate against natural economic force. Okay, you
Yes,
can't
exactly. Yeah.
you can't override the fact that I can produce something for 10 cents and it costs you 30 cents to produce. You can't override that. Okay, you have to
Yes.
try and let the advantages of the disparate players emerge as the definition of a valid fair market value economy, because
Yes.
that's the natural force. That's who you
Yes.
are. That's who you should play to. But we've got egos of old men in the way of this and all sorts of other forces, which
Yes.
seem to be driving the world into a terrible state.
But
And
aren't you
I
encouraged a
stopped
little bit
watching
by the
TV.
fact that that it's not working? I am. It's
Yeah,
great to see
yeah.
that and that might make people more weary next time around of trying.
Although it plays out in the street, Tim, it plays out in real people's lives.
No,
Forget
that's
about
true.
what we see
That's
on
true.
TV. In real
Yes.
people's lives, people have got less to eat, or they've got less healthcare, or they feel less safe in the streets. And all of these big games that are these big board games that are being played in big boardrooms aren't really the real thing. The real thing's happening on the ground where people are not in a good place. And on
Yeah.
that cheery note, I've got a
Okay.
lovely sunny day ahead of me, and I've had enough, Tim. I've had enough of this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Mark,
Okay.
enjoy
Have a good week.
your time away. And thanks everyone for listening once more. And please recommend our little program to your friends or your enemies. If you've got enemies, maybe you should tell them.
Yeah.
If you
Enemies
didn't
in
like it and you put.
particular. Yeah. Why should they get away with it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.